Interpolation versus extrapolation. What do these words mean and why do we care? Bum, bum, bum. Well, here's the thing. We can use the line of best fit to make predictions. So we're talking about, what if we have a scatter plot? We draw ourselves a line of best fit, and now we can predict. We know that life is not linear, right? We never have data that is perfectly linear. We have things all over the place, and we have to be able to use that data to make decisions. So, if we have interpolation, we are making a prediction within the range of observed X values, right? So think like inside. So if I have values from 0 to 10, if I wanted to make a prediction about value 7, it's inside my range, so it's right? Inside. Extrapolation means we're extrapolating. You've probably heard that word, making a prediction outside the range of values. So if I have 0 to 10 as my X values, and we want to estimate or predict for 15, it is outside, right? It's extra, outside. So the extrapolation is outside the range. Don't really know which one is better or worse, depends on the data set. So here we go. We have 5 friends who studied for the same test, and their results are below. X is minutes studied. Y is the test score out of 100. So the largest test score you could have is 100. The equation of the line of best fit is y equals 0.4645x plus 59.911. Now, one thing I want to talk about before we move on to part A is the Y-intercept. So if X is minutes studied, so if we say, you know what, I'm not going to study at all. If X is 0, then Y is 59.911. So we would expect, if you don't study at all, you would receive a 59.9 on that test, okay? Which is actually not bad. I would expect it to be a whole lot worse than that. The slope, 0.4645, if we make it a fraction, we know that slope is the change in Y over the change in X, and Y is the test score. So for every minute you study, because that's what X is, so for every 1 minute you study, your score is going to go up by half a point. So if you study for 2 minutes, your score is going to go up about 1 point. That's pretty good. Okay, so that's what the slope means. All right, now let's play with this. We have our line of best fit. Part A, if a classmate tells you they studied for 50 minutes, what would you estimate for their test score? Okay, so we know they studied for 50 minutes. So that means X is 50 because X represents the minutes we studied. So we're going to shove that into our equation. So I've got Y equals 0.4645 times 50 plus 59.911. Now let's order of operations here. We're going to multiply first. So my 0.4645 times 50 gives me 23 225 thousandths plus 59.911. And last, we add these together. So if your friend or a classmate, studied for 50 minutes, we would expect an 83.136. So about an 83 on this test. That's pretty good. I'd be happy with a B. That's awesome. Now, notice our X values went from 35 to 75. 50 is inside, right? So this is an example of interpolation, because it was inside the range of data that we had. And that makes sense. 50, 83, it's pretty close, right? Okay, so now let's do part B. Your teacher preaches that 90 minutes is the best amount of time to study. What would be your expected score if you studied for 90 minutes? Okay, so again, the X value represents number of minutes. So we're saying in this case, X is 90. So if I would study for 90 minutes, let's plug that in for X and solve. Whoop, missed my 9. Okay, again, I multiply first. So I end up with 41.805 plus my 59.911. And then I add these together. If we study for 90 minutes, you'll notice that your expected score is a 101. But the test is only out of 100. So you this is where you're thinking, that's not possible. It's only out of 100. True. This is an example, right, of extrapolation because it's outside. Nobody studied for 90 minutes. That is outside of our piece. So we would expect a 101 if we studied for 90 minutes. So you can say, well, that's not exactly accurate. But it goes with the mindset that the more you study, the higher your test score. So maybe you would expect to score close to 100 because you studied so much.